Joining me now for more on this development is diplomat in residence, School of International Service, American University, El Wayne. He joins me from Washington, D.C. via Zoom. Good to have you join us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's begin with the very first things. 75 years of NATO. Is the alliance living up to its full potential?
I think the alliance is much stronger now than it has been for years. I had the pleasure of attending the 50th year celebration in the same hall that you were showing earlier. And I would say it is much more prepared today than it was then. And that was really a moment of unity also. So yes, there's more to do. There are still about 1/3 of the countries that haven't met their spending commitments. And there's a lot of work to do to build up the industrial base in all the NATO countries to be able to supply the weapons and defense systems needed. But there's much more unity than we've seen in many years.
And you're re-echoing President Biden's, one of the things he said in his opening remarks at the summit, where he also said that NATO is more powerful than ever. But when you look at the fact that even today we have more geopolitical tensions and rivalry, and we're seeing a lot of alignments, whether to the east or the west, what is the real state of NATO's capabilities?
Well, I think you're exactly right that there are a number of major conflicts going on in the world and a number of major competitions going on. And so you see an alignment, as you implied, between Russia and China, North Korea, Iran also doing things in collaboration with Russia, at least. So there's sort of an axis of disruption united in their efforts to counter the United States and to counter other democracies who are trying to defend the values they believe in. So it's a very complex situation. You need a stronger NATO because the challenges are much more serious today. The most evident challenge in Russia's invasion of Ukraine and its continued pursuit of that war.
And this war, which is the Russia-Ukraine war, has been described in two different ways. It has been described as NATO's proxy war through Ukraine on Russia, and some people have also described it as Russia's shadow war on NATO. But I want to get your thoughts as you look at the announcement of the 5 new air defense systems to Ukraine. Do you see a clear resolve by NATO allies to stand with Ukraine?
Well, I think this is going to be a strong sign of standing with Ukraine. They are not going to offer Ukraine membership in NATO. They are going to offer a pathway toward membership. They have committed a tremendously large amount of resources to this. And in fact, Europe has been spending more than the United States, the European allies, in this effort going forward. I think they're going to commit to continue that spending over the year ahead. I think we're going to see a number of discussions of planning for more coordinated efforts on the whole defense industrial base that is needed by NATO going ahead. And a number of the individual countries have already signed security cooperation agreements with Ukraine. So there's a lot going on, but there's going to be a constant effort to keep meeting the challenges that arise. And as you know, Russia remains active also in its disinformation and cyber activities, not just in Ukraine, but in many countries around the world, including being active in Africa, as you know, trying to spread their version of what they think people should view the world and the alignment of interests and power and values.
All right. So I want to say, I wish we could talk more on Ukraine, but this also means a lot for President Biden. And let's talk about his opening remarks. Many have described this as strongly delivered. But has this offered President Biden some sort of lifeline in his battle to save his political future?
Well, I think it was an important step in his efforts to save that future, as you mentioned. There had been a rebellion of members of the Democratic Party who are concerned about his ability to compete in the presidential campaign after that very disastrous debate with former President Trump. I think he's trying to show everybody that he has what it takes both to be president, to compete and defeat Trump, and to serve another term. So this speech was one step in that effort. There are going to have to be a number of other steps. He does seem to be rallying support from his party behind him, but not everybody. And the polls have still shown a shift in the direction of President Trump since that presidential debate. So there's clearly a lot more work for President Biden to do to regain momentum.
And we'll also continue to see how European allies also react to that speech. Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure to have you on. Diplomat in Residence, School of International Service, American University, El Wayne.
Thank you very much for inviting me.